This is episode 21 of Take Flight Podcast. On this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the law of attraction, what it means to us, and if we believe in it. And as you've heard, Jay-Z is the first hip-hop billionaire. We're going to be talking about that, dissecting that, the different ventures he's taken. And we have the book recommendation by Pabilo, which is by Dale Carnegie, and it's titled How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Just before we hit the intro music as well, big thank you to everyone for all the interaction, all the love on Instagram, all the tags in the stories. It's the best way that we can increase our following. So massive thank you for that. Now hit the music. Boom.
Take off, take flight with you. For we never fly, but we're flying.
So main topic, law of attraction. What does it mean to us? What does it mean to you?
What does it mean to you guys? I'm just gonna act like I have no idea what it means, guys. So what does law of attraction actually mean? I have no idea.
Well, mine's very simple. It doesn't mean anything to me.
It doesn't. You don't believe in it.
I don't believe it. I believe in God. I don't believe about the universe and all of this stuff. So my stance is very simple.
The law of attraction, doesn't have anything to do with the universe. It's not specifically in the universe.
Okay, so what does it mean to you?
So for me, it's simple in terms of whatever you think becomes you. So it's whatever you spend most of your time thinking and obsessing about becomes you. And you saying that, okay, yeah, I don't believe in it.
By the way, I was joking, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, but if for most people, a lot of people would say the law of attraction doesn't have anything to do with religion or whatever. But even if you do like a little bit of research, you see in the Bible, it says Proverbs 23:7.
As a man thinketh, so the P's book, remember, he did it as a man thinketh.
Yeah, exactly. As a man thinketh,
so is he.
So is he. So I just feel like that's really the law of attraction. Whatever you focus your mind on and you obsess about and you just say becomes you. If that's focusing on the positive of life, like you have certain people who they always walk around with a cloud. They're always, the cup is half empty, always sort of down, always never looking at the blessing. That's just becomes them. And then all of a sudden you always find them in different types of dramas or things just attract to them. Versus other people that have got a positive mindset, a can-do attitude, that starts to become them, and you see it in their life, the way they take accountability for stuff, good or bad. They don't try and leave it to sort of, it's just by chance. They look at every action as something that they can control, something that they had a part to play. So that's sort of what I think of it.
Let me expand on what I said at the beginning, because I think, obviously I was joking. And I do agree. And a few books and audio books I've read in the past is about how your life is going according to the way of your dominant thoughts. So what you were saying, and it's almost if you think positively, positive things will happen in your life. If you think negatively, negative things can happen. And we need to understand that even the words that we say carry a lot of power. And even in our last podcast, when we're talking about friendships, and when we're talking about having to walk away from certain friendships, it's not just because of necessarily bad things. But if you have someone who's always sucking your energy, always being negative, you need to be aware of that negativity. It's not good to be around people that will draw from you. I think we've all probably been in a room where you can always sense the atmosphere, whether it's like a good vibe or it's just like bad. And when people aren't feeling themselves, even ourselves, when we start the recording, we make sure there's good energy, that we're all like, we're up for it. And that is contagious. Whether it's good thoughts, bad thoughts, they can be contagious. And it's about making sure you're not around negative people, negative mindsets, because after all, you become like those you associate with.
For sure.
But actually, Daniel, the point that you were making about at the beginning, even though you were joking about the fact that you believe in religion, so I don't believe in the law of attraction. I know you were joking, but I've actually heard that argument before from other people, and I've never understood how can that even be a valid argument? Like, do you guys know how that can be a valid argument? Because I don't know how it can be two opposite things.
I personally don't think it's valid. I think it's just like you reap what you sow. A farmer can't reap when he doesn't sow any seed. And in life, you have to, whatever you sow, you reap, or in other words, whatever you reap, you have sown. And even as people, individual people, I think we have over 70,000 thoughts a day, and the majority of them are negative. And that's just without us thinking. We just think about things that haven't happened, things that can happen. But how about if we were to replace those with positive thoughts, positive affirmations throughout our day? Like, even if they haven't happened, or, I have done this, I have done that. That definitely creates a different euphoria for yourself as you go about your day and achieve different things. And just in life generally.
And sure, I think the reason why some people might not believe it or feel like, okay, based on religious views, they don't believe in the law of attraction is because it's when you think of the law of attraction or whenever people normally talk about it, it's very individual focused. I think that's why a lot of people say, look, forget about any external outside factors like God. It's just really you are in control of your whole life. And I feel like a lot of people don't feel comfortable with that sort of philosophy where
The accountability, maybe.
I think it's accountability. I remember having a argument with someone where I said my philosophy is 80-20. I said that, look, I believe that there are stuff that happens to your life where God might put you in certain situations, etc., which I said is the 20%. But I said a lot of what happens in my life, or I believe is the 80 that I control based on choices. If something goes wrong, a lot of times I don't always look at, okay, it's God's fault that I'm in this position. A lot of times I say, okay, what did I do? Which is the 80. So I remember having a whole debate about it where the person was like, nah, I totally don't agree with that because you're trying to take God out of sort of your life. And I'm like, nah, I'm not. I'm just taking accountability of a
What you
lot
can
of
control.
what I can control.
Yeah. For me personally, I'm a massive believer in law of attraction because I think if you put something out, not even just to yourself, but if you start telling people about what you want to do or what you're doing, it's just amazing how the universe starts moving in a certain way. Like if I start telling people that I want to record a podcast, for example, suddenly I find out that Olu's thinking the same thing elsewhere. I find out that Daniel's got a similar idea. I know Pabilo wasn't initially sold on the idea, but he gets round to it. So because of us speaking that, then it moved into existence. The same way that I'm sure before we were working in jobs or before we achieved something like a promotion or an investment, before any of that, we said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And once you said that and made a decision, everything else started moving towards that. And that's why I'm a massive believer in it. And I think it's really important that people take that accountability and realize that they can use it for themselves to push them in the right direction.
Yeah, so law of attraction is something actually for me I've come to be more aware of over the last sort of year and a half. And what's fascinating is that we have applied the law of attraction even when we didn't know we were actually applying it. So there's a saying which is where you are today is just a reflection of your thoughts in the past. And it forces you to, as Olu mentioned it, become very accountable in your own self and your own actions. And there was something also where it was like you're not any further or any further behind than you are exactly where you should be because it's based on the thoughts and energy that you would have harnessed in the past. So and then when you start tapping into it and reading it, you start to realize that actually you start looking at examples of your life in the past and where things would have turned out perhaps for the better or for the worse. And they may not be chance. It's actually something, I remember thinking about that. I remember speaking about it. So it definitely is something which works if you pay attention to it.
You know, when you talk about it, I think when people say, "Oh, it's what you put out in the universe," I'm always a little skeptical of that.
Why is that?
Because
How come? You look like you're about to make some deep point, Olu.
no, it's just the way it comes across is like you stare in the mirror and you just say, "I am gonna be great." There's a lot of action that comes into it, and I think a lot of people leave out the action component of it when it comes to law of attraction. Because personally, I don't feel like law of attraction is, or at least to me, something that you just sit there just having only positive thoughts. There needs to be action behind it. Otherwise, it's just empty. When you're
True.
just you're just standing there and just saying, "Hey, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to be healthy. No,
it's-
you're going to be
but that's-
healthy
it's
if you also go to the gym as well.
Yeah,
And like there's action aspect
it's
of
not
it.
saying, oh, I'm gonna get a job, but you never submit one application.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, God will provide me a job. Or
Yeah, but the thing is,
when else did you apply for a job?
the thing is, it starts in the mind. So for the action to flow, you would have first had to have thought it through over and over again in your head. So and the thing is, most people don't even get to that point. So they talk about like dreams and imaginations is like one of the most important things. Like as it's saying, be careful what you wish for because it can come true. So I think it all starts in the mind, and then you start to slowly at some point start to take action. Because it's interesting, some of the things that we are taking action on now, we thought about a year or 2 years ago.
But so what makes it difficult for some people to have those? Because you said it starts in the mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's stopping people from having a positive outlook or seeing themselves being more? What's hindering them? Is it their upbringing? Is it what is stopping people from?
If we stay on the topic of like thinking forward and being more of a visionary and wanting more for yourself, I think the challenge there is that humans are hardwired for survival. So it's that reptilian part of our brain which keeps us where we are. So I think, and if you think about it as well, you have to carefully design your circle of friends that will push you forward, because the average person is very much happy with where they are, and there's actually a lot of negative influences around. So you have to do a lot of work to put yourself in an environment where you actually start thinking forward. But I think why we don't spend enough time thinking about or dreaming or imagining is because it triggers you to realize you'd have to step outside your comfort zone. And so your brain starts to automatically work the other way to keep yourself feeling comfortable and safe.
So do you guys have any examples for do you have any examples where you can see that the law of attraction has influenced you in a particular way to get to a desired outcome?
Yeah, so one of the examples for me, and it's more fascinating because I didn't know I was applying the law of attraction. But so as you guys know, my father worked abroad for most of his career. And so the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. And so growing up, I always wanted to take an opportunity outside of the UK. And I remember as early as year 7, year 8, telling the guys, yo, once I've finished my GCSEs, I'm out. I'd say it in those exact words.
I used to think it was immigration issues that you were trying to get out of the country.
This guy, bro. Why
I didn't know because you went to the work abroad.
So he says, I said, I'm out. And then as time went on, I went to sixth form and I said, yeah, I wouldn't mind working in like Dubai when I'm like mid-30s, early 40s. And I just kept on saying it. I wouldn't mind working abroad. I always wanted to work in central London, but I just kept on saying it out loud. And then the way the opportunity came about in 2012 was out of nowhere. And then sort of you find yourself in Switzerland now, and I've been there for 7 years. So when I look back, you don't just land. I didn't just receive the email out of nowhere. It was something which, I mean, I don't want to sound like, that whole type of like hoo-ha, but there is an element of speaking it to existence.
Definitely. I completely agree. You have to speak things
Because I think one thing also for people listening, it's important. Some people maybe listen to it thinking that just sounds like a load of rubbish, but
try it.
The law of attraction works in so many different. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It works in so many different avenues, not just like money, but also in health, as you mentioned, also in love, in relationships. So it's not all about like big picture thinking. It's just could be small day-to-day wins and small day-to-day living.
I think it's crucial as a part of our day, because we all have many, many thoughts throughout the day. And if you were to really evaluate and say tomorrow or the next day, or even to reflect on today, how many of those thoughts were positive? How many of those were negative? And I'm pretty sure the majority of them are negative. We just tend to think more negative than we do positive. And for some reason, I don't know what the reason is. It's probably a psychological issue or something. But we tend to be more fearful and afraid of things than we do to be looking forward to things. How often do we even start to say, I'm going to have a good day. I'm going to have I'm going to have a great day. Rather than, oh, I'm afraid of this meeting, I'm afraid of that. What if the meeting goes bad? But why don't you say, what if the meeting goes good?
Exactly.
So why don't you spin everything you have a question for and turn it into a positive outcome? Oh, I have a performance review. I'm a bit nervous. why don't you think I'm going to have a good performance review? Well, provided that you've obviously done good work throughout the year. But even when we, you know,
it's like not revising and turning up to the exam and saying, "God, I'm going to get an A."
Yeah. But even exams, like, oh, what if that question comes up? What if that question comes up? But how about the question that you do know comes up? Well, hopefully you revise and you know,
what's so funny about that is, Daniel, what I used to do when I was an intern, I watched this TED talk which was about positive affirmations.
Yeah.
And it was saying prior to you doing some sort of presentation, because a lot of people get nervous with public speaking, what they say is either go to the toilet or go somewhere quiet and just say positive affirmations to yourself, such as, you're going to smash this presentation, you know this, you're great, you don't need to worry, you've got this, yo, you've done this a million times, it's nothing. So you basically build up that confidence and just speak what you're about to do into existence. So many times I used to do that. I just go in the toilet a few, like, before a presentation and just be like, yo, you ready? You know this. You're about to smash it.
I'm with you. Do you know who the number one person, the best person to do this? Who does this?
Who?
DJ Khaled.
Yeah.
He's the biggest. He even was it? I think one video when it was Rick Ross working out, and he was really pumping him up. And I remember a joke saying, "Oh, if your friends don't do this, you need new friends." But really and truly, it's actually true because he's always positive. He gives
energy, man.
Yeah.
And then you just go out there and you realize that you just take on that persona that you've created of yourself, and you find you're able to be confident within the presentation.
This conversation has brought back to remembrance a book, which I might even do a book review in another stage. It's called The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews, and it has quite notable figures in history, like presidents and things, and just the way their positive thinking had a complete change in course of action of their own history. I don't want to go into it now, but maybe I can do a book review that later.
The other example that was coming to mind as Shuo raised the topic is, I know for the last probably year and a half, or I came across it in 2016, I knew at some point, in order to advance in what we're doing from a business standpoint, we would need mentors. Because the famous saying is, if you want to be successful, get out of your own way. So you're constantly, but you don't, and so the seed was planted, and then I think what we struggle with on a day-to-day is how. You're trying to always figure out the how. But I think the law of attraction is saying, just be clear on what, just be clear on, and the how will start to reveal itself as of when you're ready. And so we found ourselves at the turn of this year having unlimited sort of opportunities in tapping into different mentors and people who we're working with, and it's no chance. And it's funny how it's like, sometimes I think what it is that we sit down and we think, okay, how am I going to find someone? What am I going to do? And it's not, it comes in ways that you won't necessarily realize. Somebody will offer you the opportunity, or somebody will refer you to somebody else, but nevertheless.
Or you bump into someone in the street.
So it's what you said, that is like it actually happens. But yeah, no, and so 2 years on, we find ourselves now sort of having coaches, having mentors in what we're trying to do to advance ourselves forward. So this stuff is not fluffy. That's my message to the listeners. It's not fluffy. I know it can sound like, well, who's going to stand in front of a mirror and say I'm rich when you know you're not. But the other thing I want to, go ahead, yeah,
Daniel, sorry, Pete. When you think of words of affirmation, or not words of, law of attraction, is it only, because I hear it a lot with money? What are some of the other elements that you guys hear?
It's everything.
It's everything. Every aspect of your life.
100%.
It's a plethora of things.
People talk about money because
if you're happy, if you're happy, you suddenly end up you realize that you're surrounded by people who are actually also pretty positive and got a good outlook on life. If you're going to the gym, exercising all the time, and you go regularly, you realize that actually most of your friends also go to the gym a lot as well. So I think it's across all aspects.
No, for sure. And even in relationships as well. Relationships can be a big one when people are saying, you know what, so Shuo,
yeah,
you know, speak into existence. We'll see.
You don't know what I'm already doing in the background on these, but let me say that for
planting some seeds.
Let me say that for another episode.
The one point I wanted to throw in, and it goes back to your point, Olo, about the balance between how much you think versus the level of action
Yeah.
that you take. Because on one hand, it's important to start. Let's say, for example, in the area of building wealth, the person, what they say is the person that stands in front of the mirror and says, "I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich," is usually the person that's not rich, because you're having to tell yourself something that you're not. And so, although it's important to start that process of, okay, I want to live an abundant lifestyle, the thing that is important to keep in mind is that they say you can't fix a problem at the same level of thinking which got you there in the first place. So, like, basically the key message is sort of get into that rhythm of saying what you want to be, but then start taking action immediately, because ultimately that's what's
Move
going
you.
to force the results.
Yeah.
Because I think I caught myself probably mid end of last year every morning saying a number of different things, and at the end of the day, that day I didn't do anything. I'm constantly telling myself I'm this, I'm that. This is what the marriage will be like. This is the level of health, and so, but you need to go to the gym. So it's a two part to the process.
So how long should you be in the speaking it in existence, and how much time should you be in the action phase?
I think they go hand in hand. I think the mistake that one may make is just speaking it, feeling good about
And just
themselves,
chilling.
and not necessarily and just chilling. Because the thing is, it can give you a false sense of impression. Okay, cool. Now that I spend my mornings speaking affirmations, I'm pretty good. I'm gonna have a good day. But you kind of have to force. You have to kind of also live what you're talking about. So I would say it's you have to do both. You have to speak it out loud, and you also have to intentionally put your foot forward and take those actions. What examples have you experienced in your own lives?
I'm trying to
Boy,
think.
Examples of laws of attractions where we've spoken something into existence. Is that what you mean?
Or maybe you have not spoken it, but it's come onto your lap.
Um, just the way my mind sort of works is I try to always say I want or I can do something, and then automatically I start to switch to a sort of solution mindset. So let's say, for example, I remember when I was doing my placement, I said to myself, okay, I want to go back to university final year and buy a property because I don't want to pay rent. So automatically, I started just obsessing about it. Like, okay, I want to get a property. I want to get a property. I want to get a property. So I started looking at, okay, where can I afford? What do I need to do? Like, I just continuously doing it. And I wasn't able to get it final year of university, but I was able to get it probably 6 months after I graduated. I was able to get a property shortly after. And I feel like that was based on me just obsessing about it and then switching to
Yeah.
more of a solution. Okay, what do I need to do to get this, or to solve this, or to actually action what I've been talking about. So yeah, I'll say that would be probably one area that the law of attraction worked for me.
I've got several, but I'm not gonna delve on I'm not gonna touch on all of them. I remember it was before final year about my degree. I said I wanted a first class. I didn't get a first class. Well,
I was gonna say, but don't be
no,
so
no, no,
polite.
no, but it's good. It's good.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, wait, what's he about to
No,
say?
Oh,
no,
don't be
it's
lying,
good to
bro.
be truthful. No, I said I wanted a first class, but I didn't get a first class. So I clearly it was my desire, but I could have put in more. Clearly, could have put in more work. I was close. I got a first in my dissertation, but I didn't get a first overall.
Which I was surprised you got first in your dissertation.
Maybe I should have been.
No,
Maybe I
but we
should.
know how you got. We
Maybe
know how you got a
maybe
first
maybe
presentation, though.
maybe,
We know how you got.
maybe I should have been.
Let's just
Maybe
move on.
I should have
Let's
been a
move
bit more
on.
specific as to what I wanted, and said for my overall grade. Another area was. You lot messed up my train of thought.
Because you know why, innit? You know that first dissertation.
Ollie was cussing me from early, saying, "Oh, I'm flying to Nigeria and doing interviews on TV and all sorts."
I'm not gonna lie to you. I was surprised you got first class in your dissertation. All those trips you were taking, I was like, "There's no way this guy's gonna get first," and you pulled out the bag. So respect.
The other
Nah, no respect.
it's all right. It's all right. Envy is always there. It's all right, P. It's all right. Oh no, the other one. Oh yeah, saving. I remember one year I said I wanted to save X amount, and I did kind of just pluck that figure out of the air. But actually, it did actually come. It did actually. No, I did. reach that amount. And the thing is,
You're
because
Nigerian,
like what he was
right?
saying,
You're Nigerian,
sorry?
right? You're Nigerian. So you plucked up a number, you selected a number, and what? It just magically it just magically came in your account.
The way
Very
Olu said it.
funny.
The way Olu said
Olu is
it.
in
Do
the
you know what?
mood
Do you know what? Because
Nah,
the thing is,
Olu's taking the
I
piss.
didn't even understand what you're talking about. It's clear to show. It's clear to show. It's funny how people's mind think when they want to do things themselves, because you often listen and hear things about how you would do things. So it just shows your own character. But anyway,
Shots.
just
Bang bang. Bang bang. Boop.
yeah. So that was it. Yeah, I was saying is, when you say something and when you're really determined and committed, all of your action goes into those
Yes.
steps that you want to achieve. So you
Yes.
can say something, and when you really believe it, you will start taking the necessary steps. It might even be baby steps at first, but they will gain momentum, and you'll pick up speed very quickly. And before you know it, you have reached that goal. And that's why it's also important to set goals.
Big ones as well, by the way.
Cool.
Big one, 10x.
Because even when we did that goal setting episode, I think it was episode 4.
10x.
Episode 4, where we said why you should set goals.
Billionaire,
Because
baby.
when you've written something down or said something, you start gravitating towards it.
Yep.
100%. Actually, Daniel, on that point, I was thinking when we were talking about it, I think the law of attraction, etc., and affirmations, I think this really ties into the importance of goal setting, which we talked about in previous episodes. Because if I just take this year for an example, some of the goals that I set at the beginning of the year of investing in other parts of the UK outside of the south of England that I haven't invested in. Now, at the beginning of the year, when I wrote that down, I had no idea which area, how I'm going to do it, where I'm going to do it. And then I got invited to a random event with this random company that I hadn't even heard about. I just went there on a whim to an event, got to know a company, got to know people, and now 6 months down the line, we're working together in a partnership. So that is a sign where at the beginning of the year, I had no idea how I'm going to do it. I just had that intention in my mind that that's what I want to do. And then I feel like this random event, how do I know it was random? Maybe because I had that thought at the beginning of the year. I was open to seeing that these events are around and I should go there. After going there, I saw the opportunity and I've taken that opportunity as well. So it's really important to tie it into this goal setting. And I think it enforces why it's important. And to also not sell yourself short as well. Why not? If you want to do something within a year, why can you not do that in 6 months? As long as you back it up by actions, just 10x everything. Man, I'm such a big believer of that. But anyway, I don't want to hype everyone up too much.
So, what are some of the things you, if it's not too personal, you guys are currently speaking into existence?
Across all areas. So health, wealth, love, and happiness. So I speak about the marriage that I want to have, number of kids, what the lifestyle looks like. I speak about faith, how I want to be closer and stronger in my faith. I speak about the wealth. I speak about my network. I speak about health across the board. So everything is on there because everything's important. I speak about, just having a growth mindset. So those.
Question about this. When you say speak, and I didn't ask this before, when you guys say your law of attraction, is it something that you say out publicly to everyone, or is it more just to yourself? I guess that's.
So I would say it out loud to myself.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So I say, and I also say it as if I've already achieved it. So I say things like, what's a good one to share? I've got one of the strongest networks in business, in friendships, in people that work for me, people that work alongside me. These are the kind of things that I say. So I say I have.
Got it. What about you, Daniel? What are some of?
For me, I basically write down a lot of the things. Some of the things I write down is, for example, how many students I've been able to impact and make their life better. When I'm kind of praying to myself, I pray and I say it out loud of how healthy both of my parents are, how happy they are, how secure they are, how my brothers have had successful careers, how everyone around me and that's attached to me has had more success than they initially imagined, how I'm healthy and hopefully one day in a good marriage, healthy kids running around. So these are all things that I say actually when I'm praying, quietly to myself, but then I also write some of the key ones down repeatedly as well.
Cool.
The thing is, to be fair,
Daniel.
you actually No, go Daniel, go ahead, and I'll say it after.
Oh, mine is just it's similar. It's echoing what the P and Joel were saying. It's about family. It's about my marriage. It's about our unborn children. It's about the future, and just saying them as though they are now, and seeing things as though you want, saying things as though they those that the things that are not, saying them as though they are. So it's really about being positive on all facets, all areas of life, about immediate family, extended family, friends, and everything. And that usually comes through our prayer time as a married couple, but also throughout my day, even when you're having a challenging day. So this day is going to be a good day. It can even be, you could, some days it's going to be a challenging day because you've got a lot to do, but you're still saying, I can achieve everything that I want to do. It's all going to go well. This meeting will go well with this client, all of these things, and you have to be positive, because if you're not positive, if you don't back yourself, no one's backing you. If you don't back yourself, no one is backing you. And the thing is, it also comes across in your demeanor, because you can look at someone and see someone's just positive and confident.
Yes.
You can similarly also see someone who's negative
into you,
and it gravitates other people 100%. To you as well, because those people that because preach, man.
If you're gonna talk and you're all nervous and everything, it's gonna come across. Your hand will start shaking the paper. Your voice will be shaking. You start sweating. You're gonna pass out. But yeah, so it's all about it's just maintaining a positive mindset. That's all you can
with
do.
sweaty palms, cuz leave me out, man.
Clammy hands.
The thing I was gonna say was
for me, like on my side is
Go ahead.
I think for me is sometimes I echo exactly what you guys said, but sometimes I use it as more of a motivation during like a dark period of time. So sometimes I'll be I'm doing this for my future wife, my future kids. Yeah. And that gets me through the tough times.
Okay.
That gets me through the tough times, because I'm like, okay, I'm not going out here splashing my money on just like nonsense. Yeah. I'm keeping it for other reasons, to invest, to build wealth, whatever. And a lot of times I'm like, okay, yeah, this is for my future wife, my future kids. And that gets me sort of through the whole process. So the laws of attraction, sometimes when you're putting the action and putting the graft in, just having those laws of attraction makes you think of the long game, like where you're trying to get to. Yeah. So if you're saying, okay, like P, you said, okay, I've got this network, I've got this staff, I've got this team. Whilst you're working and doing the steps right now, you're already envisioning the end goal, like how it's going to look. So the actions don't seem that much or that difficult, because you already see the big picture. So that's the way I see even like me saying, okay, I'm going to be a 40-year-old fit guy. Like I'm going to be yummy daddy, whatever the life is. That motivates me when I go to the gym when I don't really want to go. Even with relationship and friendships, I'm like, yo, I just picture the future where it's like, okay, me and my friends, we can rent out a cottage or somewhere and we celebrate Christmas all together. I'm like, okay, let me put the steps now so that we can actually do that.
You never told me.
Don't worry, Daniel, we'll be doing it. Don't worry, soon.
The only thing I'll say is to what you mentioned is I don't know if you only do it when you find yourself in downtimes, but it's a little bit like, or let's say for those that do, it's a little bit like only praying when you're going through a rough patch. And I'm a firm believer that you should, if you've had your biggest win in the year so far, that day you should be consistently praying as if nothing's happened. So when it's more of a daily thing or a weekly thing, despite whatever's happening in your life, I think that's a better way to practice it. Yes, it can work when you're down, but it's I think it's even more powerful over a more consistent period, no matter what's happening.
Yeah, P, I agree with you. But I think when you're down, you need also sometimes you need an extra kick.
Yeah, you need extra. Yeah, I would say
you need something extra to say, okay, why am I doing this?
Yeah, it's
like
true.
That question, because there's gonna be dark times where you're gonna ask yourself the question, why am I doing it? And if it's really like I find when it's individual focused, a lot of times it can fail. When you're just thinking, oh, I'm doing it because I want to, it fails. But when I always say, okay, I'm doing it for my future wife and kids, I'm like, okay, cool. This is bigger than me. It's bigger than me. So
one thing I just quickly add, it's quite funny actually, is so I do my affirmations in the morning on the way to work. I cycle to work, and I find I
cycle?
used to find myself, just basically like if you saw me cycle to work, you'll be thinking this guy is crazy because he's talking to himself, innit? So what I do is I put my AirPods in, so it looks like I'm on the phone, but actually I'm just talking to myself an affirmation. So if anyone is thinking about how to do it without looking crazy, put the AirPods in and go that way.
I just want to finish off with this, and I'll try and find it so we can share it on the Instagram page. Chris Martin, most people know him from Coldplay. In an interview, 21 years ago, 1998, this was before Coldplay were big or anything. He said on an interview, we're gonna be the biggest band. We're gonna be the biggest band. Like no one knew them. He said we're gonna be the biggest band. He goes, in 4 years, we're gonna be on national TV. Blah blah blah. And guess what? I think it was 4 years and 3 months later, they headlined Glastonbury. And even if you tell me that's not about positive thinking and putting in hard work behind the scenes, I don't know what is. But I'll find that link and we can share it so you can all see it for yourselves. You can see like a spotted up Chris Martin, braces and everything, talking about Coldplay and how big they're going to be. But yeah, that'll be my final marks.
That's a nice segue into the music industry. So Jay-Z, first hip hop billionaire.
They're friends actually as well, Chris Martin and Jay-Z.
Yeah, they did a song together called Beach Chair back on Jay-Z's album. One with the red cover.
I have to give it to Shuo because Shuo said to me, I stand behind Diddy. Diddy's my guy. He's just hype like that. I like it. And so I said, Shuo said to me, I'm telling you now, Jay-Z's gonna get to 1 billion before Diddy. And I was like, look, nah. Anyways, that's not the point. But the point is what are the lessons and takeaways that we've can sort of note, having looked at Jay-Z reaching such a milestone?
Just want to make a quick remark for people that think Dr. Dre was the first billionaire after the sale of Beats by Dre for 3.2 billion. It's not true because it was split between a number of people and after tax, it was only like 600, 700 million. So that just clears up the
exactly. Only 700 million.
only. But for the sake of the context of this conversation,
that's true.
It's not a billion. So yeah, it's a lot of money.
So you guys have seen you've seen the breakdown.
What's the breakdown? Yeah, what's the breakdown? Does someone have the breakdown of it?
I don't know what in terms of how much.
It's like Jay-Z's breakdown of what Jay-Z's.
I'll tell you what.
I have it actually. I can quickly break it down.
It was 810 million in 2017 according to Forbes. And then I know Uber helped a lot because he bought a lot around. I think
was it him or Beyonce? I thought Beyonce was in that.
Both. They both in that.
Both of them. He's. I think we can touch on his investments in a minute.
I got a breakdown.
He's made most of it outside.
I got a breakdown.
One interesting.
You want me to go through the breakdown?
Key message. Yeah, go. Yeah.
Let P talk.
No. Let's do the breakdown first.
Yeah. So 50 million worth of real estate. 70 million worth of art collections, 75 million worth of music collection and catalog, 75 million based on Rock Nation, 100 million based on Tidal. Duce is 100 million, so like a cognac business that he's got.
What'd you call it?
Cash.
What'd you call it?
It's Duce.
Yeah, Duce.
Oh no, that's cool.
What did you think it was before that?
The thing is, I wasn't listening. But I wanted to hear you say again.
And then cash investments of 220 million, and then sort of his Ace of Spades brand, which is 310 million.
What's the name of the brand?
I'm not even going to try and butcher it. That's the one you're watching.
Yeah, that's the one.
Why do you pronounce it for us, Daniel?
Armand de Brignac.
Okay, Armand de Brignac. I wasn't even going to try and butcher it.
But also we need to mention he's done a lot of startups because even you might have seen on your Instagram, like the sponsored, there's a luggage brand called Away, and it allows you to charge your USB devices via USB cable, and he invested a lot in that. And even recently, last week, he invested $1 million into a black-owned vegan cookie company, I think. So, yeah, he does a lot of investments.
What are some of the lessons that you like?
There's only I think there's one for me, one big key lesson, which is which is
invest
more-
in alcohol.
It's not just
it's not
invest in alcohol.
Alcohol, please.
well, invest in alcohol.
I'm joking. I'm on my Dean. I'm on my Dean.
What Jay-Z was known for his entire career is not what has made him the billion.
Yeah.
And so
That
it
is a
shouldn't be-
big factor. It said here 75 million was, or 17
Concert
million
sales
was
and, yeah.
based on
Concert and album
music
record sales.
catalog.
basically half is coming from liquor.
Yeah, like
And
50
so
cent.
we need to we should keep in mind that what we find ourselves doing today, it's okay. It's not okay, but we have the ability to branch out. We have the ability to be successful in other areas, and I think that is what, for me, I take away from his story.
But I
Yeah,
see that more common, especially with music artists. I think they see music as a way as a platform to get themselves known and well known, and then branch out. Recent example, Rihanna. What, now that she's got Fenty Beauty, it's being sold all over the place in Boots, and now she's the first only other person to get a partnership with LVMH. And this will make her more money than her music has.
yeah.
When last did she even release music?
Well, she's in the studio now. I think she's working on another album, and of course, the fact that she's done all of this prior to the album release is strategic, because now people, are caring about her, blah blah blah, and all these different fashion labels and different lines. People would then go and stream her music when it comes out, so it works in her favor.
But
I think also there's two points in your journey to becoming rich or having wealthy that we need to keep in mind. So it's like you still need to master one particular area or field. Jay-Z made sure he was the best at what he did, and that got him to becoming rich. And once he was then rich, he was able then to become wealthy through diversifying. So sometimes we think we try to diversify too early in our journey, and we should still be continuing to harness our craft. And once we've got to a certain point, that's when we can sort of break out.
And it's even funny because Jay-Z didn't start rapping till quite
29.
25,
yeah, his late
29.
20s, yeah. So even that, it took a while, but he made sure he perfected it, and it was the best that he could be at the time.
And I think you need to have, and I was watching, did you guys see the interview with Warren Buffett that he did?
Yeah,
The one
with
for
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z, yeah.
Yeah.
And he said at his early stage of his career, the most genius thing he did was not quit. So obviously with his story, he was trying to get into so many different record labels and try and get his music like listened to. A lot of people turned him down. So he said, you know what? Let me create my own record label. So you need to have that certain level of arrogance, that certain level of confidence in your ability, where you say, okay, if I can't go through the conventional route, I'm going to create my own way. I'm going to create my own path. So I think that's one of the big lessons I get from Jay-Z, and sort of how he got to his billion, because he wouldn't have reached that if he had just given up and just said, you know what, I'm going to stay on Marcy corners and just stay there. Like we wouldn't have known about him. But the fact that he was arrogant enough to continue, that's sort of the mentality you need to have.
Do you reckon he spoke into existence? I don't listen to Jay-Z anymore, but I remember Olu status or something you put up saying, "Have you ever seen an ugly billionaire?"
No,
And he spoke into existence.
He spoke about that before. I think yeah.
Speaking the wrong lines, bro. Of course, he's spoken to. I would say if you listen to his lyrics from the very first track or first album, in his tracks he's talking about being bigger than what he is today, living that abundant lifestyle. There's a nice line in Can I Live? I can't remember the line. Is I'd rather die trying to live big than live dormant, something like that. But all of his lyrics and lines were around being bigger than what he is. So I would say that musicians are every day living and acting on the law of attraction. They even talk about how some artists that spend too much time talking about drugs, crimes, being murdered, end up dying themselves.
yeah. Look at what happened to that Takeshi 6ix9ine.
What happened to him?
Well, basically, he was just talking lots of crazy stuff into existence.
No.
And he got-
I thought you meant like he'd been killed or something. I know he did, and he snitched or something. Yeah, I know that.
Are you talking about Takeshi, or are you talking about XXX?
Yeah, I think his XXX is the one he was talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
I think Chihuahua just got the names mixed up.
But a bunch of them, though, a bunch of these guys that too much of that I'll kill you talk will have you ended up. Yeah. Anyways,
Being killed.
No,
But actually, one thing that, and it's just echoing kind of the point that Pabilo made at the beginning, and it's the favorite Jay-Z line that I have, which is, don't worry about being
Girls,
good.
girls, girls, girls.
No, another one.
Oh, which one?
Allow me,
Excuse me, miss. What's your
allow me.
name?
But excuse me, miss. From 2008 to 2000, and what year are we now? 19. From 2008 to 2018, that was one of my most played songs. Excuse me, miss. That's a banger. It's a banger. No, but he has a line which is basically trying, in summary, it's just saying, "Don't be afraid to give up the good to be great." And I think in music, he could have easily just stuck in the music lane and been a legend in the music game and just focused on the music. But every time he leveled up, he was never satisfied to stay there, and he always wanted to continue to grow into areas that he didn't really know much about, and he just wanted to follow the opportunity and never get comfortable with any level of success. And I think for me, that's the biggest inspiration. That's one of the reasons for me that I'm really motivated to not and I think it's very common in our generation as well. We don't want to stay in one fixed lane our whole careers anymore. We want to experience different things and try and grow in different areas. So for me, he's just a living legend. His songs are super aspirational. What he's achieved is great. And now that he's made $1 billion, in the next 10 years, he's going to make probably 10 times that. That's my feeling now.
He's just getting started.
It's that ability to reinvent yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
But in terms of what sort of lessons do you guys get about ownership and how important ownership is, and not selling your catalog, like him selling his masters, or in fact ownership in terms of title? He could have easily partnered with someone. How big do you feel like ownership has to do with his success and him being able to
It's
create a villain?
Everything about his success has been about ownership, and I think it stems from his mindset of, okay, I want to own all my music, and then he just translated that into all his investments, where I need to be the main investor or the only owner of these businesses, and he's translated that excellently across all of his investments.
But not all of investments. He's the main. Like for
No,
some,
no, but like the big one, for example, the one that Ollie struggled to pronounce, and I'm not going to try because I'm going to take it off. That one he owns 100%. For
Ace of
example,
Spades, and that's his main one.
biggest one, exactly. So,
and he bought it back in 2014.
yeah. So yeah, it's just very inspiring, and from where he came from, like the level of poverty that he grew up in New York, and having to go from that to sell drugs to be in the position that he's in today, and have Beyonce next to him, mate. He's the blueprint. if there's any Beyonce's listening out there, holla, man.
Because like girls. Okay, so we're gonna go to the book review, and this is by Pabilo. We already told you what the title is. For those who weren't listening at the beginning, it's called "How to Win Friends and Influence People." So, P, take it away.
Yeah, no. So quickly, so the book I wanted to pick this week is "How to Win Friends and Influence People" by Dale Carnegie. And I know in a few episodes ago we spoke about friendships and how to maintain friendships, or what we're trying to do to maintain friendships. So this book actually is, I think, 60 million copies sold worldwide. Well renowned for its tools, tricks, and tips on how to influence and win people over. So what I wanted to do is kind of go over some of the principles in the first two sections, and we can perhaps share where we've seen this work for us, or maybe some things that we're listening to, perhaps we can start to do ourselves.
I've been waiting for this book review.
Why is that?
Because I always love your book reviews, man.
Anyways, now I know. So the first principle it talks about, which is actually, it talks about becoming genuinely interested in other people. So the whole saying is, you can actually make more friends in 2 months than you can actually make in 2-3 years. The point is that you have to just turn the lens from yourself into other people. So again, it's about having those questions to tap into people and understanding sort of what they're about, as opposed to focusing on yourself. So I'll just do you want me to go on to sort of the principles, or you want to touch on each one?
Go on the principles first, and then we'll talk.
All right, cool, perfect. And so the next one, interestingly enough, it sounds very simple, which is smile more often. It's free to smile, and the whole idea is that it makes people feel sort of more wonderful. And if you think about the impact that you have on other people when you smile more often, it does resonate better with people. Because I actually think that we naturally have a screw face, so we need to be conscious of that. because people do take note. So one of the things around here I've been doing probably in the last few years is, especially when I'm in London, is when I'm walking around, try to nod and smile at people, especially people of my own kind. Now I get blanked. I get blanked a ton of times. It's
That's called a black nod, or the.
I've actually been with you when we were walking through in like a different city, and some random guys actually do that to you quite often.
You know what's so funny about that? When I was in Dubai, I was with my Asian executive, and we were walking. We went to like a day party, and I saw this other black guy, and obviously gave him the black nod, which is whenever you see another black person where you don't normally see other black person, you sort of just acknowledge each other.
no.
And my manager was like, "Wait, do you know him?" And I was like, "Nah, but he's a brother. He's a fellow black person. So we just acknowledge each other." And he was like,
You
"Wow,
know,
that's strange." And I was like, "Nah, it's just something normal." I find it weird when I do that to someone that's black and they don't nod back. I'm like, "Yo, who hurt you? Who hurt your feelings?" Like,
the thing is, what's interesting is that outside of London, whenever I see someone of our own, they're not like you always get the nod back. In London, every now and then you do get a nod back, but there are times when you don't. So but it's because we're taking each other for granted. It's another topic, but it's more when you're in Europe. There's not so many of us, so when you do see someone of your kind or Dubai or whatever the case may be, there's a lot more love. But yeah, again, on that point, it's about trying to smile more. So I think that certainly works. The third principle it talks about is remembering people's name. So that can actually be one of the most important factors in bridging the gap and building the connection. And if
you know who's good at this? I'm bad at this, but Daniel, I've got to give credit where credit is due. Daniel always, wherever you go, he'll use people's first names. He'll look at the name badge and be like, "Hey
it's there for a
Sarah,
reason.
hey Tom," like he would just call them by their first name, and I
There for a
respect
reason.
it because I'm not good at it, but it makes a big difference. It makes a
Actually,
big difference.
if we're there to give shout outs to Daniel, when you mentioned that, Daniel, in an episode of Take Flight podcast, since then I've actively made an effort to try and do that with every single person that I meet that I haven't interacted with before, if I'm in a restaurant or a meeting. So I appreciate that, Daniel.
Pleasure. Always sharing gems. Always sharing
Let's
gems.
stop now.
and
Let's stop now giving Daniel compliments.
the thing is, you know how much it means to you when somebody gets your name wrong. So I've been with you, Olu, when someone's called you Ola, and I know, like Olu will literally everything stops. You get corrected.
Can you not
before
read my
move
name?
on.
Can you not see?
There's no way we're gonna play football, move on until you say Olu.
And so we'll stop them all. Pick it up.
The thing about it is that we all take our names seriously in different ways. But I think it just goes to show the importance of remembering people's name and getting it right.
Yeah.
You know, I got in trouble with that once, P, where I
I'm not
was doing
surprised.
this.
Go ahead.
It was a it was a work sort of a work conference, and they were teaching us like how to interact with executives. So she called me to the front. She was, "Oh, what's your name?" I was like, "Hi, my name's Olu." And she's like, "Ola." I was like, "No, no, Olu." Oli. I was like, "No, no, Olu." And we were there for a good few. Me just correcting her, and she's like, "Sometimes people are just not gonna get your name, and you just need to." I was like, "Nah."
No.
I was like, "We're gonna stay here for
Yeah,
5 minutes."
I
if you
can
need to."
I can get if she's making that comment and your name's got a few X's, a few Z's, a few Y's, then it's complicated. But if
Yeah.
it's just Olu, come on.
Yo, there's a reason why my name got shortened to Olu. They butchered my full name. Like in primary school, they were not able to pronounce my full name, so we had to cut it down to Olu to make it digestible. At least you could do is know how to say that.
Um, the next principle is we need to become better listeners, and the way we can do that is to encourage other people to talk more about themselves. In this whole arena of making friends and building relationships, until you kind of read this book, a lot of your thinking is, okay, I need to be more interesting. I need to be speaking more highly about myself. It's me. But this is great because it turns you and say, no, you should spend more time listening than speaking. So, because the reality of it is that people want to be heard and people really just want to use you as a soundboard. So give them that opportunity, give them that floor. And the only thing when I was reading this, I was thinking the challenge is for us is that a lot of the times when we listen to people, we're not really listening. We're just preparing what we want to say next. So it's really important that we consciously think about giving people the floor more and listen and consciously listen to what they're saying. The next one is this one is actually is quite one that I've seen work time and time.
With those pauses, I feel like you're testing us. Like you're not listening to what I'm going to say next.
It's because it's a bit silent, isn't it? So I'm not too sure what you guys like.
It's because everyone's actively listening.
Okay. But one of the other principles is talk in terms of the other person's. This one is.
Oh my god! Sorry.
Talk in terms of the other person's interests. So the other one is be more interested in than interesting. So focus more on what other. But here is even in your conversation to the people you're speaking with, is try to focus on their needs and what their life is about. And what's funny is when I read this, I tried to say, okay, let me try and use one of these two techniques. And I remember this working very well when I spoke to somebody at work who was going through a pretty rough time. And I had said to the person in these simple words, what is important to you? And you could see the way they reacted, it literally uplifted them straight away. Because it's not a question that you're usually asked. It's someone, usually people give you their advice. Oh, I think you should do this. I think you should do that. But if you say, what's important to you? What should you want to focus on? So it's like small tweaks to your communication that can really make a difference. Because you'd be surprised on how it makes the other person feel.
No, that one I fully agree with. And people really like to talk about themselves a lot. So I think if you have a genuine interest in that, I think it does help to create a bond very, 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 very quickly.
Yeah. The last
everyone. Sorry, yeah. I was just going to say everyone's a client, but go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's yeah, make people feel more important than you do. It's the whole saying of treat people how you want to be treated. And I don't know if we're consciously thinking about other people more than we're thinking about ourselves. I think naturally you say, okay, if I want to make more friends, I've got to showcase my abilities, my talents, and what I'm good at. That's how I'm going to attract it. When actually it's more of an outward job. It's turning the lens from yourself to other people. So I'll just do a few more principles on the next section, and then we'll sort of wrap up from there. This one is interesting, especially for Olu as well. So the first one was how you can get people to like you. This section is talking about how you can get. What are you laughing for? How you can get.
Sorry, just because you're like, oh, this was really important.
Wait. Let me finish. This one is about how you can get people to come around to your way of thinking. So it says the only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it.
I see why it's important for Olu. I see why it's important for Olu.
You get what I'm trying to say, innit?
I'm never going to avoid it.
Oh, because basically what you're trying to say is whenever we argue, no matter if you win or lose, you will always lose. Because either you've made that person feel more humiliated, why are you guys laughing? Or it's effectively strengthened your position and your ego. So the best way to avoid that, the best way to basically manage an argument is to avoid it in the first place. So I think that's quite interesting.
But how do you then get them to carry their weight?
Well, no, but the thing is, I don't know why you had to make it personal. I mean, this is, we're not arguing. So you got to look at examples where you've had arguments with people.
Aren't you?
No.
You're not arguing. You sure? In Olu's mind, it might be different.
No, I'm not arguing. I can never argue with P. Daniel, yes. P, no.
The other one was always show respect for someone else's opinion. So never say you're wrong. And we may not realize it, but sometimes that could be part of your vocabulary and part of how you speak to somebody, because you're so confident in what you know. You may turn around and say, "No, that idea doesn't make sense." Or, I'm laughing.
I'm laughing. Do you remember final year dissertation group project Gaussian matrix? You don't remember?
Nah, bro.
Gaussian matrix. I'm the pronunciation to someone. Someone was saying it, and Olu was like, "It's Gaussian. It's Gaussian." Olu, do you remember?
I remember.
Yeah, you remember. I don't want to say the person's name because I don't want to drop it the name. But I remember Olu was like, "It's Gaussian. It's Gaussian."
I know what you're talking about. That.
No, but I've been around situations where let's say for example the conversation will last for I don't know an hour. It could be a meeting, but in that meeting someone had said at one point in particular you're wrong or that doesn't make any sense. I literally feel that that's the only thing that we all keep in our minds. It's such a strong set of words to use. So it's very and everything else could have been a value, but that person would have just drowned it all out because you said you said I was wrong. So what may seem like a word or two actually has a deeper impact on the individual.
Does this book give you
the other
alternative?
one
Like, let's say, for example, that one where you said,
Yeah.
it's not good to say.
Ollie wants some alternative.
No.
He's not feeling.
So when I mean alternatives, I mean like practical ways of going about it. So, like you said, it's not good to say you're wrong, obviously, because it has a negative. What does the book recommend that you should deal with a situation where the person might be, in fact,
That's more of managing conflict. That's more of like managing conflict or managing conversations. You're not necessarily.
Does the book give you that?
You're not saying no to the person. You're saying no to the suggestion or the idea. It's not a personal.
Yeah, but I'm saying if the book gives sort of how you do it.
There's a plethora of examples in the book. All I wanted to do for the book review was just provide the principles.
No, I think I'm just saying it more for the listeners so that they know that when they do get the books,
buy the book.
It's going to give them,
100%.
It's going to then give them like examples of how to do it the right way and the wrong way.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's in there. So a couple more, two, three more, which I think are valuable. The next one is maybe it's also good for Olu as well. Is when you're
Olu,
I haven't said it.
He's going to buy the book for you. He's going to buy the book for you.
If you're wrong. This is forget. On a serious note, this is for all of us. When you're wrong, you need to admit it quickly and empathically, because if you think about how your pride and ego works, you may eventually come around to saying, "Oh yeah, I was right and I was wrong at the same time." Right? You don't really sort of give in, but the power of admitting that you're wrong builds a trust factor, builds your trust very well and very strong. So it's.
I'm going to be honest. I think that's one that everyone on this call, apart from Shual, needs to listen to.
I agree with you. And the thing is, we have to ask ourselves. Is how often do we admit quickly that we're wrong? We try to tend to be smart about it.
But no. Question. How about when the person? I'll give an example. Olu. I would say when I'm wrong, and then Olu be like, "Yeah, I told you so." Like, you know that comment after, it's like, "Yeah, but I said I told you at the beginning, innit? I told you at the beginning, I was right, huh?"
No comment.
Yeah, two more. The next one. No,
you said one more, man. You said one more.
One more. Let people leave some for people to buy the book, man.
There's plenty more, and then I can talk about perhaps the advantages, disadvantages towards the end. But the two more. The next one is when engaging in a conversation with people, try to reach a common ground very quickly. So try to get to the yeses as opposed to in the early stage figuring out what the differences are. And so there are examples in the book of how you can find things that you both kind of have agreement to, and it just kicks off the right momentum. So I thought that was actually quite something. Again, these are all tips and tricks to sort of keep in mind. The last one I'll say, and this perhaps works well in the mentoring space and coaching, which is try to let the other person feel like it's his or her idea. A lot of times, if you're a subject matter expert or you know you have the answer, you tend to sort of give it straight away. But you can give people a lot of empowerment by helping them explore and discover what the answer may be and getting them to reach to that point themselves. So it's but yeah, those are just a few principles. The one thing I'll say about the book is there's quite a lot of principles that are all great and all work. And I think what I tend to do when I read a book is I want to just take 2 or 3 points that I can just sort of work with. So but I think it's very powerful because it turns the attention away from you to other people. And so it's no longer about yourself anymore, but it's about how you look at others and focus on others and not yourself. But very, very, very great book. I think read by many, and definitely encourage people to pick it up if they want to increase their level of influence.
What's the name again?
How to Win Friends and Influence. People by Dale Carnegie.
Cool.
Please.
So there you have it. Episode 21 is in the bag. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if there's any comments, please feel free to DM us on Instagram at Take Flight Podcast or email us at takeflightpodcast@gmail.com. Have a good, productive week ahead. Stay safe and God bless. We see you next week.
Peace.
Take off, take